Thank you for joining us and welcome to Marriage Gone Divorce. We'll be starting in just a few, so get your favorite drink, your snacks, and by all means, subscribe, share, and like. See you in a few.
I wanna run like I'm 18, but when I start up, I'll make it. My color's fading a little bit. I feel tired more than I ever did. I keep trying to find what I left behind.
There we go. Can y'all hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? We finally got our lighting, I think, right tonight, y'all. How about that? Welcome to Marriage Gone Divorce. We are glad that you have made the choice, the decision to join in a conversation tonight. And we're going to do it like we do it, raw, uncut. We are live. We give you an opportunity to ask your questions. Leave your comments, your feedback. You have an opportunity to share and invite those to come on in. Make sure you subscribe and like. That's what gets our algorithm up. And so we thank you guys. We thank you for those that have been with us on the Marriage Gone Divorce show specifically. It's almost been a year that we did our first sit down. It was last year on my birthday that I had about, what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4 ladies came in and helped me kick up. They asked me to do a conversation. And so we did it on my birthday. And I wanted to do it as well. We did it on my birthday. So it's going to be interesting to see how we close out this year with the Marriage Gone Divorce topic. All righty. But before we do anything, we want to make sure we take a deep, and you might notice I'm a little congested tonight. I was brilliant yesterday. I normally take my showers in the evening, and I decided to take my shower early in the morning before I ran out. And so I'm paying for it today. So with that said, let's take a deep inhale. Yes. Hold and on. And on the count of 4, we're going to exhale it. You notice I always move to one side on my exhale. I'm stretching out that shoulder, that side, that spine. Yes, let it out. And then inhale. Yes, hold. It is that breath that reminds us who we are, whose we are, where we are, and that we are family. And exhale. You cannot breathe taking an intentional breath and allow yourself to be centered in the moment and think about what happened before. And even when you do, what you do is take another deep inhale. Come on, take another deep inhale through the nose. Hold. 2, 3, 4, and exhale through your mouth slowly. Yes, it's that breath that reminds us that we are created in the very image and after the likeness of the creator of all life. What that simply means, you're not no junk. That means we are distinctly different. God, the creator, is so big, bad, and bold. He can create me, and you. And so we are all created in the image and after the creator. Ain't nothing like that. So anybody tell you anything different, tell them there's a lie. You know, the old folks used to say, if you're from the church world, like I am, grew up Pentecostal, they are lying from the pit of hell. From the pit of hell. So listen, we have a good conversation. I'm not going to waste a whole lot more time. I'm so excited that I got my lighting right tonight. I don't know what to do. Look at me, y'all. Look, she look kind of cute too, huh? So we have Dr. Camille with us tonight. Let me first say this. To all the fathers, happy Father's Day. Bless you. To the fathers that show up as fathers that may not be a biological fathers, to all the grandfathers, the uncles, the men, and there are women that show up in the spirit of masculine energy, like it or not. We've had to do it for years and years, whether we like it or not. And you've learned how to balance both worlds. But we're gonna talk about a little bit about that too. How about that? But blessings to you in this season. Blessings to you in this season. I have learned a lot about these wonderful holidays that we celebrate, in particular Mother's Day and Father's Day. Mother's Day was designed and created because of a grieving daughter. That's why Mother's Day was created. And then Father's Day was created in the same spirit. So we want to acknowledge my father, my biological father, the man I call daddy, the only daddy I know, and my grandfather, my uncles. I have so many men in my life that has transitioned, and I give them homage. I say homage. I give them much respect right now because they taught me a lot. I didn't always get it in that moment, as sometimes we don't, but they taught a lot. So we want to say, bless you to the fathers. And on next week, we got a surprise for you. We got a man. Finally, we only had a couple men on our platform. I don't know what's wrong with y'all. Y'all scared? But at any rate, we do have a man coming on next week, a man that will be talking with us. With that said, we're going to go ahead and get started because Dr. Camille, y'all, I've been getting a bunch of her name all the time. But Dr. Strong was born in the rural area of Brewton, Alabama, and she's recently returned there. If I'm correct, she is the oldest child born to her mother and father. She is a survivor of rape, sexual assault as a young child, and domestic violence. She is also a survivor of military sexual trauma. So she's coming from a place of experience. For years, she struggled with the thought that she was not enough. This way of thinking affected how she showed up in the world. She knew she did not want to continue to live her life in such depression and a life cycle, a feast to famine. You know what that means. You got more month than money. Through her passion for sexual assault, domestic violence victims, survivors, and self-esteem building, she was able to move from the idea of not being enough to knowing that she is enough. Dr. Strana has dedicated her life to teaching others the same. Listen, she has a doctorate in organization, leadership, and behavior, a BS and an MBA. So she is definitely a well educated, and she's educated, and she has the life experience, and she has a company called Rising Star Coaching. And I'm going to give her an opportunity at the end to talk about that. Let's welcome to the stage, y'all. Let's welcome to the stage Dr. Strong. How are you tonight? Thank you so much for being here.
I am doing amazing, amazing, amazing. How are you, beautiful?
I am awesome. I cannot complain. It wouldn't change that in the words of my mama. It wouldn't change that no way. So I don't, I'm here. I showed up. Yes, yes. What I didn't mention to the audience is how we met. We met through a common source. Jewel has been a connection through a lot of a lot of my connections and friendships and sisterhood. The woman on the Grow Tribe, and then also we were fortunate to have you come out to our empowerment summit. And she was the speaker at our empowerment summits. Last week I mentioned to you guys we're looking at restarting those back up. And she was also the first recipient of our OMB scholarship. We called it scholarship then. It's a grant now. But she had experienced, she had experienced a fire and lost everything. Yeah. So welcome. I'm glad.
I'm so excited to be here with you. It's always a transformative, stretching, all the goodness, right, that we sometimes don't pay attention to when I get to share space with you. So I'm super, super excited.
I am too. I'm very honored and happy to have you here like I was going to say this evening, this morning. Listen, I wanted to ask you this. I have a general way. I've been really thinking about this particular topic and thinking about um, making sure that we are not just talking about the woes of divorce because they're there, and we can all identify with that, but really talking and unpacking the journey, right? And so when we said the layers of grief, loss, because
Mhm.
you've experienced all of that, right?
Yes.
Caregiving, and divorce, and how
Yeah.
that impacts our life. How I know that you have personal experiences, right? But how, after getting a doctorate in what was it, organizational leadership and behavior, you that you took on this specific journey. How did we get here?
Oh, goodness gracious. Um, the reality is that because when all of those things, the childhood rape, the sexual assault, military sexual trauma, domestic violence, I really felt that there were no resources,
Mm,
like openly.
mhm, mhm,
I'm sure that if you digged and drug yourself around a little bit, you'd find something,
mhm,
but nothing that was open, you know. And so I actually completed my doctoral while I was still in the military, and I was deployed to Guantanamo Bay
mm,
when I completed that. And so uh, in that, it's one of those things where when you are preparing for certain things, you go through certain things.
right. Yes.
That's why I tell my friends, it's like, how do you have so much patience? And then I say, I have no idea because I never asked for it.
That part, you wasn't praying for no patience,
Man.
huh?
And so when we ask for things,
Yes.
we have to go through things to get that thing,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. And so for me, it was like I know I'm not the only one, simply because when I was in the military, I went to all the trainings. So it was almost as if before I even began doing any of this, I was actually doing this,
Hmm.
right? Because when my commanders and brigades and everything, when they needed somebody to go to a suicide prevention, to go to a resilience course, to go to this type of training,
Hmm.
sexual assault training, and then okay,
Hmm.
Sergeant Strong, you going Sergeant Strong. So I really got a lot of the practical training
Hmm.
while I was in the military. And so once I started to get to the position where I'm thinking about retiring, I started just reaching out to people who had already gotten out and said,
Hmm.
"Hey, are you looking to, just take your life to another level and really explore how you can really get past all the things that you've been through?" And so
Hmm.
that's how I got there, and I just kept going.
Hmm.
Uh, and so now it's like, okay, I let people know out from the beginning that you have to be ready to do the work, because I don't spend a lot of time after that first session talking
Hmm.
about what everybody else has done.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
This is about what you're going to do.
Hmm.
This is about us owning, changing and shifting the way we live our life, the way we see ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and really digging into where it all began. Right? When did you first learn that you wasn't enough? Like I had to sit down and ask myself that question because nobody came right out and said, "You're not enough. You're not enough."
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this: was it the experiences with Ray? Was it the experiences with trauma, disappointment, expectation? Because when we say, by the way, thank you guys, those of you that are joining, make sure you let us know where you're checking in from. We greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like and don't forget to subscribe. But you as you know, the movie Straw, that one was such a anybody that that had a little bit of something watched that and boohooed and cried. It hit so close to home for me. It was like, whoa. So my question is this: when we say when you're ready, nobody wants to live in disappointment, live in hurt, live in pain, live in yeah, hurt, pain, disappointment. Nobody wants to live in that. So when you say ready, what do you mean by that? Because ready is I don't want to live here. I don't want to experience this anymore.
Right. And
But
that's
also,
really what it is.
also when you say take responsibility for self, or how I believe that's what you said, when we start making choices, how do I do that when I've been yelled at, I've been called stupid, I've been raped, I've been
Mm-hmm.
manipulated,
Mm-hmm.
and men, it happens to men too. So,
Yes.
but so we're not saying that and I'm so glad in one of your posts you mentioned, we're not saying we're anti-marriage, but what we are saying is it's important that we go into things with our eyes wide open as it pertains to our expectations. So what do you say to that?
The thing of it is that for me, I had to like go all the way back to the beginning. And
Mhm.
so I'm going to share this, and I want everyone to be clear. I don't share, at least, well, hold on. At this point in my life,
Mhm.
right, I don't share my story for you to feel sorry for my effed up behavior.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Right? So I had to go all the way, like really all the way back. I do have memories of getting physically abused when I was about 18 months old. They're kind of like flashes,
Mhm.
but concretely, I know that I was raped by a family member in
Mhm.
the back seat of my mother's car.
Mhm.
And after years of therapy, um, I realized that a big part of that not being enough is when my mother showed up and I was in the back seat of the car, bloody, dress torn, and all of these things. I remember her asking me, "What did I do?"
Mm.
And in that, I could see my little body just sinking into the back seat
Mhm.
of her car. And for
Mhm.
years, it didn't matter what vehicle it was, I did not sit in the back seat.
Mhm.
When
Yeah.
I'm talking years, I'm talking grown
Mhm.
babies,
All that.
all of that.
Uh-huh.
So, and then of course, when you experience that, and then in that, there were no consequences for the person who did that to me. And then, of course, and I shouldn't say, of course, because a lot of times we experience bullying, right? But a lot of that bullying came from my own family members because some of them found out that what happened to me, and at the time I didn't realize, but now I can kind of say, okay, I count it as kids just being dumb,
Yeah, children being children, kids being
right?
kids.
And not realizing the impact that teasing me about that was going to make. Right? And so I grew up around a lot of domestic violence.
Okay.
Right? And in that, I married someone who did the same thing, and I thought it was normal.
Because that was your exposure.
That was my exposure. Like we as kids, we didn't, when folks was fighting and glasses hitting the wall and all the things, we cool, we handling our business. But if the weekend was quiet, that's when we were walking on eggshells.
Peace, quietness represented something's wrong.
Exactly. And so that's how, and that's when, like you mentioned, the layers. It's the layers. In one of the things I also want us to recognize too is that it doesn't always have to be as traumatic and drama as my story. Or to be trauma.
You said that this week. You said that's good, because we see trauma as something, the face of trauma as something always dramatic. And we don't, the subtle trauma that we live with, ongoing trauma that we live with, because quite frankly, in Straw, that's what was going on with her. Though it was in our face because it was a movie, when you think about the reason it has such an impact, we could relate to the subtleness of it.
And that is that expectation.
Yes.
That are, put on women, and most, from my experience, triple magnified for Black women. Because everybody wants us to save them. And I know some people are not going to like it. I get it. Okay. Because that wasn't your experience. But when we look at history,
yes,
as the kids would say, no cap. Right? And so in that movie, right, you see as she move along, people, except for the people who were like just throwing her around, like, because they figured that she should be able to handle it.
Right.
But then even those who
knew her,
wanted to help and knew what was going on, they, how can I say this? They never really offered real help. They never offered real help. Girl, you got this. Just relax. You can get it done. You and your baby gonna be okay. I just told you I don't have money to pay my rent.
Right. So let me ask you this. This is good. So now when we take that and put that into the context of, that's good, of when a marriage, when a marriage starts to unravel, okay, a relationship, a covenant, when it starts to unravel, is it the same? Would you say it's the same type of thought process and behavior? Like, I'm disconnected. This is not working. Whatever's going on, be it abuse, be it neglect, be it we're not connecting, whatever that thing is.
Absolutely. You hear it all the time. Whether and it doesn't matter your background. It's you're either told to pray, I'm praying for you, just hang on a little while longer. You, okay, I'm getting the brakes beat off me. Can somebody help me with an escape plan? Right? And some people will even go as far as, well, what did you say? A man is going to be a man, and all of these things. So it's the same, people thinking that they are supporting you, but they're not giving you real support.
Well, do you think it's, ladies and gentlemen, as you guys are listening, do you think it's because many times we don't know how to give the support? Even I think about myself, and I'm going to have a little moment. I don't not normally like to bring myself into the conversation, but I think about myself. One of the things I that in the correspondence I put up, we have a public persona that everything is okay, that we are walking in a fulfilled life, that we are bringing home the bacon, frying it up in the pan. The communication is excellent, especially if you're in this type of work. So everything is good. So I'm fine.
Right.
I'm okay. When on the inside, I'm not. And I have no way of being able not only tell my mate, I can't even own it up myself. I can't own it. I can't tell myself. What do you say to that?
It goes back to the beginning. Like we're literally socialized that, as you just mentioned, bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, do a couple of twirls, hang from the chandelier, and put that whatever how many minutes in, get sleep and start all over again. And having a fulfilling career in all the things, right? And what I say to that is, it's very important for us to really begin to release those thoughts, allow ourselves to go through the steps to change that CD, that record, that tape, if you will, because it's so ingrained, right? You see it all the time. If you're not grounding, right? If you're not grinding, if you're not grinding, then you're not doing anything. Right?
Awesome. Yes. So we have Shatoya. She says, how do we start the healing process? Acknowledge the wounds, events, and circumstances that cause the trauma, and accepting oneself as one whole, despite it all.
She literally answered her own question. Right? Because that is the process. And that's what I mean when I say, if you want to work with Dr. Strong on that level, you have to be ready. And it's not ready in knowing the answers. It's ready to do that right there. Acknowledge that you've been hurt and that is still affecting you. Right?
So this is what I'm going to write. And so what I'm going to say to that, because I do the same kind of work, and I even look at my process and my journey and what I walk through, and walking through an ongoing, we're constantly evolving, right?
Yes.
We're constantly growing, and the layers. So what is revealed about ourselves last year it's ongoing. This year, I find I'm exposed to another part of myself in terms of healing. And that sometimes I think that is healed,
right,
is not healed, right? And it's not healed because I have found an antidote. I have found an affirmation. And all those things are good. I'm not saying that they're not good. I think there's a part I'm starting to think. You tell me what you think about this. I think there's a part of, even in divorce, there is a part of grieving that process. Even if you move on to another relationship, another marriage, there's a part that will always be with you. And I think, yes, I think it's making peace with that is there, but it doesn't have to affect how I choose today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to take it a little further, if you will, is I believe that in those spaces, if we allow ourselves to grieve the loss,
Mm-hmm.
not just the loss of the marriage,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, but the loss of how your life used to be,
Mm-hmm.
the loss of who you were in that marriage,
Mm-hmm.
and how it allowed you to show up, right? Because all of those things are going to shift. But if we give ourselves the opportunity to grieve all of that as a loss, as if, like we, if we allow ourselves to grieve the loss of a parent or a friend, allow yourself to take that same process because it is a loss.
Mm-hmm.
You go
So
through
is
it.
it a loss of, an idea and a fantasy? I'm just asking. Because maybe some of the unraveling, when I think about the unraveling, and I think about the ladies, the men and gentlemen that I've talked to, I'm doing well, I might change, but as of today, and I'm doing a dissertation on this, but but I think that it's the ideas that we have about marriage, and the false expectations that we have about it. And so is it the loss of the person, or is it the loss of the idea? And it might be the loss of the person because you can no longer be in relationship with them first,
Right.
because some breaks and some tears and some boundaries or standards have been so so messed up that you just can't be in relationship with it anymore. So
Right.
what do you say? So is the ideas?
I would honestly say that we need to leave room for ourselves to grieve both,
Okay.
because you still lost someone who was a friend, someone you loved, someone you trusted. So you lost that, along with losing the expectation that this person was going to be able to have the capacity to be with you till death do us part, in sickness and in health, richer
Is
for
that,
poor.
is that possible? Is that ideal? We have people that have been married 55, 60 years. I know. I know. I know. I know people. I know couples. I know marriages that have the longevity.
Mm-hmm.
And the longevity is there because of a choice and a commitment
Yes.
to stay no matter what.
Yes. That's it. There is nothing else. Nothing else. If she goes out there and turning flips in the front yard with no clothes on, I'm staying. We're gonna figure out if it's a mental health issue, if she decided she's changing her career. If he goes out and do this, and that, I'm gonna stay whether there's a baby or not. They're absolute choices. I don't believe that there are any magic tricks. Both people have to be in a space where the answer is always yes, that I'm going to stay. And not only that, that they dig in a little deeper when the other person is out of alignment. and it goes both ways, right? It's no no.
There's it's no options for, so it's not.
I'm
But
trying to think of a word. There's nothing special that you just have to be willing to stay no matter what.
so
And
how do you deal? How would you say to someone who started off that way, no matter what, right? But things are obviously get to a point where it is no longer and no matter what. And
right,
now I have to deal with the guilt. How did you find, how did you get out? Because how did you get out of the grief of and the abuse and even after you lost your child and relationships that you were committed in, and how did you do it? And let me ask you, how did you do it? And it may have happened more than one time.
right. That and this is going to sound so corny, but that goes back to the bliss life system that I created.
Mm-hmm.
And that's from the beginning, before I even knew it was that, right? Before I got
Mm-hmm.
connected with all the people who knows all the business stuff
Mm-hmm.
to assist me in setting it up that way. But really going through bliss, looking at your beliefs, looking at love. What does it really mean? Who's defining it? Are you defining it? Or is it something that somebody else told you? Because in the beginning, with my first marriage, I was living by somebody else's definition of love, because I was allowing somebody to whoop my ass. I'm sorry.
It's
Uh,
okay. We adults here.
everything,
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And believing that I did something wrong.
So how did you get out of that? I did something wrong, because that is one of those intense psycho. I wrote the word down earlier. That's one of those psychological, I call it psychological warfare
It
of
is.
the mind, where you feel like you didn't, but you feel like you did something wrong, and you wear a lot of guilt. How did you
Mm-hmm.
get out of that?
For me, and the way that I take my clients through the process is getting back to how you were socialized. That's why bliss starts off with your beliefs. See, if I believe that I did something wrong, then I'm going to carry the guilt. But if I allow myself to sit down and actually look at it, not just from an emotional standpoint, but from a logical standpoint, and really get down to like the crux of what was happening. And that generally doesn't really happen until we're out of the situation, right? So we get out of the situation because we are sick and tired of being sick and tired. So then it's like, okay, you know what? I am sick and tired of this. I'm not doing it no more. Bye.
Mm-hmm.
And then we begin to, when we start going through that grieving process, that's why statistics show that it takes 7 times for a woman, any person really, but because the statistics was talking about women,
Mm-hmm.
7 attempts before they leave an abusive situation permanently.
Wow.
Now, the problem with that
Wow.
is the statistics also tell us that between 35 and 40% of the women who are in that cycle
Mm-hmm.
don't make it out. They don't make it out because there is a cycle within that cycle. And each time the abuse gets more intense.
And it's a lot with it. You're saying a lot here, and even when we talked about trauma, the subliminal trauma, and we talk about narcissism, and we talk about manipulation, and we even talk about. I was thinking about how there once upon a time it was legal. A woman didn't have rights out. She had no rights. She was under the control of her husband and what he said.
And I need everybody to recognize before y'all start getting and having an attitude, that didn't end until 1972.
That's right. That's right. And it's still not really ended, but that's right. That's right.
It's on the books.
Yeah, it's on the books still. It's still on the books. And so, and then it's laced with religious beliefs,
yes,
and dogma and doctrines and things of that nature. You have that. So you really, as Kalila said, we really have to define love up front. And I'm seeing, I've said it, I've spoke it, and I teach it, but I am seeing you really have to get into the space of loving self, and committed to knowing what your standards are, what your deal breakers are, and teaching our young people at a young age, male and female. I teach my son, listen, we have to respect yourself, respect your standards, respect what, is a yes and what's a no for you. You have to know and take the time to know that nobody learns all this stuff overnight, right?
No, ma'am. No,
nobody
ma'am.
learns it overnight.
If you think about it, we're socialized to accept and live in abuse.
Or emotionally, like Rosalind said early, emotionally disconnected. We're so not present to our life because we're on the treadmill of paying a bill,
get
the bag, just basic necessities, paying the light bill. And the reason why many times we stay in situations, because it is a legal contract, is because breaking that legal contract can be very expensive. And somebody, unless you're able to have adult types of conversation with folks, somebody's going to come up on the short end of the stick. If people are not emotionally balanced and healed, or at least on the road to that.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And as the young lady just mentioned, so with Bliss, we look at, okay, what are your beliefs? And we look at all the areas of your life, right? Your health and wellness, your spirituality, your relationships, your career. What are your beliefs about yourself and how you should be showing up in that? And then looking at, are they yours? The same thing with love, right? Do you love yourself when you in those spaces, right? Because as we all know, because of the way, things have flowed for us, we're a little different in each area of our life, right?
How do you choose differently when you're lonely? How do you choose differently when you're lonely?
You know what? I'm gonna take one of your stances on this one to start out. You're gonna have to breathe first. Just take a deep breath, right? And then don't allow, because this is where we get caught up, right? We romanticize what the relationship was really like. Right? It's like when we get lonely, we forget about the cheating, we forget about the hitting, we forget about the lying, we forget it all. Right? But the thing is really going to be, again, asking, defining love for oneself first, and really being willing to to stand in that space. As we'll talk now, you got to be 10 toes in. Are you willing to be 10 toes in, 10 toes down for yourself?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like you are for everybody else.
And understanding that when you say that, self is not disconnected from God. Because a lot of times the other part, that people we battle with is that we focusing too much on self. Well, it is impossible. It is utterly impossible to say you love God and you do not love yourself.
Absolutely.
It's impossible. It's impossible to say you love yourself and you do not love God. It's impossible. It's one and the same. And so I think that when we understand, we're not saying you're the creator of all life, but you are the creator of where you are in this world, in the world that you're creating. And that's the power that has been given to us. And when we ignore, you guys, I love. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I like this, Dr. Camelia. This is good because it's a journey. There's nothing easy about growth, change, transformation. And let me say this. Let me rephrase that because I've been saying that different. It's not that it's not easy, because actually it is easy. It's not comfortable.
And there it is.
It's not comfortable.
It's not comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Because it's unfamiliar.
Right. And on a how can I say this? A biological, on a cellular level, we are designed to resist change. Mm-hmm. And we're like, okay, well, that makes no sense at all. Well, I didn't do it, y'all. I didn't do it. It wasn't my fault. Right? So, and it's just like when we were talking earlier about the marriages, just like you have that same commitment, right? It is important for us to make that same type of commitment to ourselves. Because here's the thing, for most of us, if we really look at it, how we treat ourselves is how everybody else treats us.
Is that true?
It is. Because it's a mirror. And the problem with that is because of we've been taught certain expectations. So here's where it gets real interesting, right? We've been taught certain expectations. Mama's supposed to treat me this way. Daddy's supposed to treat me that way. My husband is supposed to do this. My wife is supposed to do that. And all of these things, right? Mm-hmm. Then on top of that, you're taught that you're supposed to behave a certain way. And nobody had the conversation about the fact none of it matches. None of it matches.
So the supposed to and what it's supposed to look like ain't matching the behavior, and the two worlds are colliding.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Absolutely. They're not, it's not matching. It's not matching. We tell our husbands, our boyfriends, or whatever, our mate, whoever is holding the masculine energy, that you're supposed to be a provider, and all the things. Mm-hmm. But no one had a conversation around what that really looks like.
Or the trauma around all of that.
Exactly.
Let's just also deal with, you talk about a system. we're looking at it in our world right now, in Live and in Living Color, right? We're looking at white male privilege at its finest. Um, and what what's happening is the trauma around that for men of color, Black men specifically, because and Black women, we have not been given, or we don't have to, I don't even know how to say it, put it into words. We don't have the actual dynamics to function healthily, not non-toxic. That's the word I'm looking for. In a non-toxic manner. We can sustain, we can survive, we can get through it, we can make ourselves do it, we can 10 toes down, 20 toes down, whatever we're gonna do. We can do all that. But is it toxic? Is it healthy? We accept it, right? We accept it. And so I'm wondering that subtle subliminal trauma in our marriages, in our spiritual being, how that's affecting our relationships, how it's affecting our understanding of love, how is it affecting our understanding of community. And when we look at that, how do we now unpack it to the point, okay, we're unpacking it with ourselves, right? But now how do we unpack it where it's affecting our world? So I'm not returning to the familiar because it's familiar.
Right. And I would say to that is, it goes back to, and I keep going, we have to go to the root.
Yes, we do.
We have to go to the root. And it's some things that we, Black people in the diaspora, okay, have to, it's important because you don't have to do anything, okay? But it would be greatly important to really understand how certain things that we didn't participate in actually affect us in the now, right? I.e., and somebody is probably going to be like, okay, Dr. Strong is crazy. So we know that there were the Willie Lynch letters and all of the different things, and how, I forget his name, but this particular plantation owner came to teach the plantation owners in America how to tame their slaves, right? And all the things that had to do. Turn the old against the young, the wife against the, specific steps, right? Then you have this other section over here where some of us were breeders.
Yes.
Right? And so you have that in there. Then the other part is when they said, okay, you know what? We're going to let Camellia and Johnny get married. Right? Camellia and Johnny get married. But then they start to see how we're making that connection. And shifting how we move and how we allow certain things to happen. So guess what? Camellia wakes up, or Camellia comes back from the field, and Johnny is gone. Where's Johnny? Anybody seen Johnny? And here come Mr. Paul. Well, Camellia, we trying to catch it now. Johnny went running down the road. What? What you mean? He just left. So now, Camellia thinks Johnny left her on this plantation with their babies. And what actually happened
Mm-hmm.
That because Mr. Paul saw the connection between Johnny and Camellia, he sold Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
But he told Camellia that he ran away. And so these are the type things that we need to really like. This is real. I think sometimes we don't want to accept how even now, because we're on the cusp of the 500 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because when he taught the plantation owners, right,
Mm-hmm.
you do this for a year consistently. Don't stop, no matter what. Keep it. Doom, 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 doom.
Mm-hmm.
500 years, they'll still be carrying it on for you.
Mm-hmm.
But see, now you see, you know, if we're paying attention, right? And with our work, we have to pay attention because that's how we help people. So we
Mm-hmm.
know that there's a shift happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
that's because we're coming up on that 500 years, and we have been starting these conversations, and we're slowly getting to a place where it's like, you okay, science
Mm-hmm.
has shown us that yeah, you're trying to figure out why certain things are coming up. Well, it's because your grandmother, your grandfather,
Mm-hmm.
these things experience.
It's in the lineage. It's
It's
in
in
the
the
yeah.
lineage. It's
It's in
in
the
it's
lineage. It's
in,
in the
in the
bloodline. Yeah, and it's a part of our yeah. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. We are in transition. Yes, we are in
yeah.
transition, and it's clear there's an awakening that's going
Mhm.
on in our communities, in our families, in our relationships. Our hearts are learning to be healed. I want to thank everybody for being here. You have any questions, any additional comments you'd like to add, please put it in the chat. We want to say thank you. How have you navigated the experience in the grief of your child?
That is ooh, that is an ongoing process, right? Because there be times, certain little things that come up, and you
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
right. I mean, it's so humbling, if you will. I don't have another word for it right now, but because sometimes I'll be moving and walking around and doing stuff, and I'll be like, I miss our arguments.
Hmm.
Like she was the only one of my children that I could actually have an argument with, and it stretched me
Hmm.
to see things in a wider perspective from their vantage point,
Hmm.
which made me a better mother.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, um, so I allow myself to go through the pits and the valleys and and I do the personal spiritual work around, honoring her presence, honoring what she brought to the family, and all the things, just like I do with those family members who were 70, 80, 90, 100 years old and
Hmm.
a transition. I put her there
Hmm.
with that, and I allow myself to feel what I feel.
Hmm.
And one of the biggest things I think when it comes to grief, we it's important that we are sure that we don't allow other people to tell us what that journey is supposed to look like. even when it comes to divorce,
Mm-hmm.
right? No, because then again, your choices, your way of moving through things are still not your own.
Mm.
It's still not your own.
So let me ask you this. This is good. So I've watched you from since I've known you. I've watched you. Oh, look at my sunshine. I watch you. I watch you from afar, and I watch you up close. And I know some of the challenges, the pain, the grief. I've seen you as caregiver. I've seen you walk through relationships that was it to find out it's not it. Okay. And so you have experienced a multiplicity of disappointment, hurt, pain, change. How do you keep going? Why do you keep going?
Oh, why do I keep going? Because I want my children to experience better, different. I was talking to my daughter-in-law, my youngest son's wife, and I told her, they had some things, and we're going through the conversation, and I told her, I said, first of all, I know that to a certain degree, when it comes to relationships, and especially you and my son have been together as long as you have, and you've been married now as long as you have. It may be a little difficult to hear some of the things that I say.
Mm-hmm.
But I told her, I said, the one thing that I've learned is that sometimes we learn what not to do.
Mm.
We learn by seeing what not to do. And your mother is not an example of, suffering silently to the death,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You get me at a point in my life where it's about accountability, it's about communication.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth of the matter is I've assisted in screwing up some relationships enough to where I can see when you're going left,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in that, it explaining it that way really frees me,
Mm.
because in my words, even if I didn't quote unquote do something wrong,
Mm-hmm.
right? There was something I did just participating,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes we get the red flags, and
Keep going.
we've been raised that we can change the color of Jesus.
Well, they already did that. No. I'm sorry, y'all. That was funny.
So it's like, what, I can change him. I can lift him up, and I can just speak.
You are crazy. Girl, you a mess.
And he done told you 100 times.
Yeah. To stop. Don't go down that way. Pay
Yeah.
attention. Listen. Listen, pay attention, pause,
Yeah,
slow up, slow
and
your
so
roll.
and see, and the thing about it, what we really miss is that we're getting the information from both sides. We're getting it spiritually from our intuition,
Mhm,
because every time we kiss, we hug, we lay, we even
mhm,
cook dinner for them. We
mhm,
standing there like,
mhm.
that's
We
your
see we
intuition.
see what we want to see. We
Exactly.
see
And,
what we want to
and
see.
the man himself or the woman is
Mhm,
saying,
mhm.
you know,
No,
I'm not ready for a relationship. This is this.
they done told you
I'm
who
not
they are.
never getting married.
They told you. They have told you. They have spoken and told you who they are, and you
And then we
insisting on it
want to
being
be on
something.
social media talking about I've been with him 8 years and he won't give me a ring. Well, he told you at month 2 that he wasn't gonna give you one.
Yes.
So, and that's what I mean when I say we have to take responsibility. It's
Mhm,
not necessarily that the person who's been in this relationship where this person is not going to marry them, she's not going to stop cheating. It's not that the other person actually did anything wrong.
mhm,
It's just that they place themselves in a position, and you said it so eloquently. We
mhm.
see what we want to
We
see.
see what we want to see. Let me ask you this. So, you've written 6 books.
Yes, ma'am.
You have 3 degrees. You
Yes,
have the Rising Star Coaching a system, Bliss Life.
yes, ma'am.
You've been through. You're a veteran. You're a retired Army veteran.
Yes, ma'am.
You have how many children do you have?
3 living.
3 living, and how many grandchildren?
5. Yeah, it's 5 of them.
5.
We
5.
want to start the
5 grandchildren.
escape tonight. When it
Five
was like
grandchildren.
3 of them, it was easy.
Okay.
And now I'm counting.
Mhm. You have moved from Northern California
Yes,
and migrated just way back to your hometown.
yes.
Where do you see yourself this time next year?
Ooh, this time next year, because of the space that I've purchased, um, I am looking to be able to do retreats here with the understanding that they're going to be more of a off grid type retreat, right, in the space, and a very spiritual environment, right, so that people have a quiet space. And where I am, it's not so where you like, okay, am I gonna get lost? But it's secluded enough to where those things can happen. And so that's that's what I'm looking to build up within the next year, and to really to keep doing the work.
So why back? Why back home?
Whew. You know what? Okay, so I am an Ifa priestess, right? So I practice. Uh, uh, my lifestyle is Ifa, right? Which is African traditional religion, right? And so a part of that process was because I was living in Nevada before I
Mhm,
moved here.
mhm,
And I started to, for lack of a better word, just started to get really sick physically.
mhm,
Um, my business wasn't doing what it needed to do.
mhm.
I wasn't suffering or anything like that, because I'm retired and I'm 100% disability. But all of those things, I mean, and a couple of things happened. Um, 2 years ago, I was sexually assaulted, but not in a physical way. A young man followed me, and when I made the corner to get to my house, he was standing outside his car with his business in his hand. Mhm. And so for me, that was an activation because when I was 16, I got snatched and raped on walking on my way home.
Wow.
So there was a couple of things that I did to kind of keep myself focused. And you know, California is open carry, right? I mean Nevada, excuse me.
I was like, no, Nevada is though. Yeah.
Nevada is
Uh-huh.
open carry, and so whenever I left my house, I had my 9 on me. And
Okay.
so I'm having this conversation. Okay, he's just being an idiot. As long as he don't come out and touch you, you know, don't react, don't do anything. Because initially, the first thing that came to my mind was the shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but then once I got home, I thought I was okay
Mm-hmm.
because I had made it home, got in, did what I had to do. But then, because I was walking a mile and a half to get to the gym, so like that was my warm up. I'm power walking to get to the gym, do my weightlifting, and then I do that slow walk home as part of, you know, that active cool down. Well, I literally got to the point to where when I would get ready to go to the gym, my body would like physically shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I have, you know, arthritis, really bad arthritis in my knees from carrying the heavy sacks and all that thing while I was in the military, and it literally got to the point to where I could barely walk.
Mm-hmm.
I could barely walk.
Mm-hmm.
So I had some conversations with my spiritual godfather, my spiritual godmother, and we started looking at where was going to be the best spot for me to be. So we looked at Texas, we looked at Shreveport, and we looked here at Alabama. And Alabama was the one that, from the spiritual work that we did, came up that said, okay, this is where every area of your life, not just your spiritual life, but every area of your life, you're going to experience abundance.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I moved with. And of course, was some, you know, it's like, wait a minute now, y'all, hold up. But I realized that sometimes certain things happen for us to really see if we're committed to the change, committed to the calling. Because this is something I've asked for, to have enough space to where I can do all of that, to have enough space where I could raise chickens and goats and you know, be out there with my little cute stuff on with no shoes on. It's like, what are you doing? You know? And so and that's how I got here. And Saturday, I will have been here 3 weeks. I have no furniture still.
Oh, shit. Okay. But you will.
But I will. They say it's coming. And so I'm like, you know what? Because at first I was just like, "Urgh." And Spirit was like, just calm down. Just enjoy the space. Enjoy the acoustics of the house being empty. So I can, you know, be running around here thinking I sound like Janet Jackson and you know. And so that's how, you know, the process of me getting here, and when it came out that way, I was like, you know what, this is really apropos because this is where I began.
That's why I asked you that. Yeah, I think it's interesting that you've come full circle.
Yes.
Back to the place of where, per your story, per where everything started, even the trauma, the hurt, the pain, the disappointment, you come back full circle. So that's
why, you know, I say that it's so important for us to really look at taking the necessary steps to do the work within the self. So I know being here, like on a spiritual and metaphysical level, there's going to be some major shifts and work within my lineage.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to do it right here.
Mm-hmm.
You
What
know,
What are you afraid of,
what am I afraid of?
if anything?
You know what? In this moment, I would actually have to say nothing. But let me show y'all how this works. If you had asked me this question 3 days ago, because I was sitting with my spiritual mother, I was having a conversation with her about how I was going to have to really change the structure, maybe not the structure, but the way I advertise, if you will, the
Mm-hmm.
marketing of my business and what that meant for me,
Uh-huh.
right? Um, and I realized two things that I was more afraid of success
Mm-hmm.
than failure. I'm afraid to succeed. And then terrified of disappointing my spiritual parents because my mother is deceased. Um, my father, he and I we talk and we're semi close, but we're not. I love him to death, and I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity to reconnect, to get to know him and everything. Because when you see me, you see him,
Mm-hmm.
which was really weird. Um, but being able to have a conversation with her and to work through that, it was like, oh, because I would get on the precipice of like
Mm-hmm.
my business, and then all of a sudden it's just like I don't even know. I don't know if my brain and my body and my common sense decide that they gonna go live somewhere else.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Because Queen of Sabotage should have been my middle name.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And I realized in the conversation that because so many times, you know, with with my family, especially when I joined the military and I left my first husband, I would always get the, oh, you think you better than everybody else.
Mm.
And sometimes we really think that certain things don't affect us because we have a good comeback, right? Um, but it did affect me.
Mm.
So much so that it affected my finances. It affected how I handled my money, which was layered with not having that growing up in a situation where any of that was taught in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So when I did get the knowledge, and I start climbing up there, then I go and do something just totally idiotic,
Mm-hmm.
knowing it's dumb while I'm doing it, and
Mm-hmm.
do it anyway because I was afraid of leaving my family behind. People not making as much money as me. They're not, they don't. And when I realized that, it was just like,
So, have you forgiven yourself?
yes,
Have you forgiven your offenders?
yes, yes,
Okay. And
yeah.
so, what if one thing at this moment you could share with your younger self, what would that be?
I would tell her that she is enough. That no matter what happened, no matter what anyone did, she's enough. She'd
Mhm.
always been enough and she'll always be enough.
Mhm.
That's that's what I would tell her. And I say that because that was, and sometimes still is, my biggest struggle, because as you hear it in the church, different level.
A different devil. Yeah, we from grace to grace. I was just sharing. We go from faith to faith, grace to grace. That's what the Bible says. So it's a shedding. Even when we started, Dr. Camelia, we talked about how we evolve, and it's a constant a shedding. So you just said you was one place 3 days ago, and in 3 days, how about that? You have
Yes,
evolved into um,
yes,
another experience of growth and
yes.
acceptance of yourself. Yeah,
Hmm.
awesome.
Hmm.
So, what would you like to? What last thing you would like to leave with the audience?
Ooh, let's see now, because y'all know I can talk.
Ah, that's right. Talk. I just know it's almost look. I just know it's almost midnight for you, and so
It probably is, and I
it
done
is. I'm
forgot
looking
all
at the
about
time.
it.
Yeah.
But because all of my stuff is not here, y'all lucky I don't have my extension cords for my computer. The one thing that I would say, and I always, I tell my children constantly, I tell my clients, is to give yourself some grace. We all are doing the best that we can with what we know in the now. Your parents, whether we like the outcome or not, did the best they could with the information that they had. You know,
Is that true for all parents? I don't know. I gotta stop you on that. No.
yes,
Is that true for all? That they Yeah,
yes.
okay. I'm just asking because I know I can hear somebody saying, that's why I'm asking. You
Hmm.
say, yeah, they did the best they could, but they knew better, just didn't do better, or whatever reasons they couldn't do better. So
Right.
I guess it is the same thing.
Hmm.
I heard it. I could hear it. No.
Right.
uh,
Because the other part to that is remembering that in some form of fashion, hurt people hurt people.
which is a whole
Hurt
nother dynamic. It hurt people.
hurt people, and when hurt people, they're not particular about who they hurting.
So, earlier when I was telling you about the psychic trauma, I
Mhm.
finally remember the name of it, and it refers to an emotional or psychological injury that results from a deeply distressing or disturbing experience.
Mhm.
It is often caused by events that exceed a person's ability to cope or process, such as experiencing violence, abuse,
Mhm.
natural disasters, or other traumatic events. Individuals who have experienced psychic trauma may struggle with overwhelming emotions, intrusive memories, anxiety, depression, and other psychological symptoms that can impact their daily functioning and
Mhm.
overall well-being, which is why we choose sometimes the way we choose.
Absolutely.
Treatment for the psychic trauma typically involves, of course, therapy, counseling, and other forms of support to help individuals process and heal, which is what we're talking about here.
Right.
Through that. And so with that said, and what you just said, in the context of our parents, and in the context of parents, in the context of another human being, giving and doing their very best, in that context, in everything that we talked about, you're absolutely right. So grace, you said, give yourself some grace. Give yourself. Somebody might say, well, what is grace? Because biblically, from church, they told me grace was
When
unmerited favor.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And also allowing yourself to hit the easy button.
There you go. Okay. That it's okay. You don't have to be on all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
You don't.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is, if we're honest about it, you're really not.
Right.
I don't care how you talk about you doing this and that, and I'm running through this and da-da-da-da-da. No, you're actually stopping for a couple of minutes and doing this one thing, stopping and doing this one, then going over. You stop that one, you went over there and done this. You stopped that and went over here and done that. That's, multitasking is a joke. For lack of a better word, because all we're really doing is stopping and starting something else and leaving a mess.
Wow, that's a whole nother subject, but that's real. Stopping and starting and leaving a mess, never really finishing anything, half doing everything. It's stressing yourself out, making yourself.
Exactly.
I want to thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule and sharing with the audience. I would like us to do this again. I was thinking, where we can come back on and talk. We can work out a time, of course, that works with your 3 hours ahead. I have your books, ladies and gentlemen. I have her books. I have 2 of her books, and I've read 2 of her books. And she is the author of 6 books. The most recent one being The Life of. You want to tell them a little bit about it?
Oh, so you're talking about, okay, so The Life of African American Woman, and that is, African American military woman, to be specific. And that one was actually from my dissertation. And then once I defended and did all the things with that, went back and rewrote it so that it reads, so I could share it with other people without it being in that.
How long did it take you to go through your because I had looked at the auto ethnographic study. How long did it take you to for your process and you defending it and all? Was it hard? Was it difficult?
It was hard and difficult in the beginning. Because the professors that I had, they had no F's to give. Like I had one ask me, "Where did you learn to write?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Wait, what?"
Right.
I got almost a 4.0. What
are you talking about?
Yeah, I cried for a week.
Yeah. Yeah, like talking about you, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you decided to do this, so you having to go to the field, because I was still in the military.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when I got my final chairperson, she was like, yeah, no, that right there, what you were writing and what you're talking about, yeah, no, that's no.
You have to redo it. Yeah, because you're talking about also to the audience, the auto ethnographic study is a study on your personal experiences.
Yes.
So that's why I asked you, was it difficult? Because you're taking it, you're unpacking and pulling apart your own personal stuff. And so that is, number one, is not easy, and number two,
No,
it's gonna be challenged because you're using yourself
absolutely.
as a
Absolutely.
recipient.
Because I got a review. Someone read my book and he wrote a review and he said, maybe you were just a bad leader or a bad soldier. And I was like,
Uh-oh.
wow.
Uh-oh. Thank you. Uh-oh. Okay.
Like,
Right.
okay, well,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
know, because
Right.
no one had ever written about the Black woman's experience
Exactly. Yeah.
in the military and what leadership for her would need to look like in order to be successful
Right.
without her falling into because that was one of the things that actually got me through was that strong woman syndrome.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well,
Because
that's what get that the funny thing about that is, girl, we didn't start up another conversation. The funny thing about that is, um, that's what has gotten us through life. When we look at our the women in our life, that's how they survived. And like we were talking
yes,
earlier, we are in that place in history right now. Well, we have an opportunity to do more than survive. We have an opportunity to
yes,
live and
yes.
transform. They survived. Our ancestors survived. Our elders survived and
Hmm.
went through what they went through so that we can now live and take
Live.
it
Absolutely.
and that
Absolutely.
and hand that legacy down to our children.
Hmm.
So how can they connect with you?
They can connect with me on all social medias. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm even on TikTok.
Ah,
And,
yes, she is too. As a matter of fact, she gives her affirmations. Yes.
mhm. And I'm on Instagram. They can send me an email at Dr.
Mhm.
Camellia Strong at drcameliastrong.com. So if
Okay.
they, want to reach out, they can reach out that way.
Mhm.
Um, they can join my free Facebook page, and then I have a free community that's off of Facebook where they can join me there. So, like, if you go to my Facebook page, all of those different things are there that you can click on. And but drcameliastrong.com is my website. So if you go there, you can tap into all the things,
Mhm.
right? You can tap
Mhm.
into all the things.
And so that's her first and last name that you see here, .com.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. .com. All
Yes.
right. Thank you. So I appreciate you. I think this was a rich, dynamic conversation that we needed. We've
Wonderful.
had
I'm
people to come
glad.
on, yeah, on and off while we've been talking. I think we could go probably another hour, but I'm gonna let you go to bed because I need to go to bed. And so,
Yes, because I have to get up early tomorrow because
yes.
I as the season change, I
Mhm.
do a 7-day juice fast cleanse.
Oh yeah,
And the
that's
first
right.
day
Yeah,
for
I
the
did see you
summer,
on. Yes.
yeah, the first
Yes.
day for the summer solstice starts in the morning.
Morning. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we get up and we meditate. I have not affirmations, but prompts that they write, and everything is geared toward connecting with nature, right? So what is nature doing in the summer,
Ah.
right? And
Mhm.
so looking at our lives as, okay, so what is it I can be doing? What is it that I'm doing in order to make that actual shift?
Mhm.
So yeah,
Awesome. All righty. Awesome. Well, thank you, Ashe. Appreciate you. Love you.
you
Love you,
absolutely
Queen.
love
You're looking good. You're looking good. And thank you for being transparent. Yes. And we will be talking again real soon. Don't go nowhere, y'all. We'll be back in a minute. Let me partner with you as you walk through this next chapter of your life. Let us unpack the blocks, the blind spots together and get to the next level, your divine purpose in this season. Let's help you shed the weight that distracts from you living in fulfillment. Meet me in my healing space. Confirm with me today. Los Angeles, California, and I am a divorcee. I'm an author. I've written over 13 books. I have coached and been a community advocate for over 30 years. But this is the thing that really kind of hit me last night as I was preparing and going through some things. I realized that this whole relationship situation, I've been on this quest in terms of men and women, how we communicate and how we get along, how we vibe, having healthy relationships. Been doing this for a long time. 1999. I was in Atlanta, Georgia, and there was 12 men and women. We got together and we had discussions. We would come together at least once a month, and we sat down. Roz probably remembers this. We sat down and we talked about. We was talking about relationships and how we're affected by them and etc. And how can we have healthier communication and better dialogues and etc. So the whole concept and idea of relationships and healing us so that we're healthier has been a part of my quest and my journey and my passion for a very long time. And as a divorced woman today, and talking to many other men and women that are divorced, recognize that the journey's real, y'all. The journey's real, and it can be challenging and painful and joyful and all of the above, all in the same breath. So thank you for joining us tonight. We had a powerful, dynamic conversation. Don't forget to check us out on our website. If you are enjoying our content, make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you share. That's how we get in the algorithm, and that is how our page, our content gets out, and more people are able to see it. But go to irisinspires.com. You can get our books. We have our books, the trilogy, which is around relationships. The last one that I wrote is The Day I Forgave God. I have the special edition. I have a few copies of the special edition that's left. And then we have the regular copy. And then we have the first part of the trilogy, You Again, Not This Time, and The Day I Forgave God. And you want to get those. I have those available. We also have available Breathe. The book and the workbook. And these two books were written after the transition of my mother. I had to learn how to breathe again. Life was still in full session, and I had to show up. And I had a child at the time. He was 4 when my mother passed. He's 20 years old today. How about that? So, make sure you check us out. Also, our next week, we have Dr. J. He's going to be here with us, Dr. J. Pearson. He's going to be sharing about men's mental health, fatherhood, singlehood, and the whole gamut. So that's going to be on next Thursday night. You want to make sure that you're connected, get the word out. We got another man coming on the platform, y'all. So you want to make sure that you are connected. I'm also on patreon.com, and many times, or sometimes, I definitely go on over there and I share and talk about things I don't talk about out here in this world. Connect with us. Center of Empowerment is the nonprofit organization. You can donate. This platform is blessing you. If you are encouraged by it, you can donate on our platform. And let me tell you that every single cent is tax deductible. Okay. So again, thank you. We'll see you the next time. Be safe out here in these streets, because these people ain't playing with us, y'all. Be safe, and don't forget to take your intentional breaths. You are divinely created to create divinely. Fulfillment, living a life on purpose, full and filled in purpose, doesn't happen by accident. It is intentional movements in the direction of shifting the trajectory of your life. It's not comfortable, but it is necessary to see change and to see difference. God bless you, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for the good vibes and for joining in the conversation tonight on Marriage Gone Divorce. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.